Hello everyone! The video that you guys have been waiting for, and I should have uploaded last week, but doing this video was harder than I thought it would be because I didn't make a list, but now I have a list. Anyway, before I start, I want to first say thank you so much, Mommy Tang, because I was like, for a while, I have been stuck at the same amount of subscribers, and I swear I was at 650 something like for the past week, and I was just like, why? And then Mommy Tang, you came along and you just shouted me out. I'm just so happy and I'm grateful because of you. I got like, while I'm shooting this, like 50 subscribers from you in one day, which is like a record for me, and I'm just so happy. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much. You're the best and I love your videos. Anyway, let me get on with this video. First, I'm gonna talk about the tools that I use, and one tool that I use that's the most important, because if I don't have it, then what am I gonna do? Now I'm just playing, but it's what I put my water in. And I also have a second bowl that I used to put my water in, but it's not as deep as the other one. So now I just mostly use it for glue and stuff like that. So if I'm pouring glue in to put glitter on, I pour it in there. You know, things like that. And of course then I have a rag to wipe the brush after I dip it in water if it's just too much water on the brush. And I have a palette. Now my palette is a resourceful palette that is the broken top to my acrylic container. So all the things that I hold my container in, it broke one time in a car accident. So now I use it as a palette. And to mix the paint on that palette, I use a palette knife, which I love so much. And sometimes I've done artwork with the palette knife. If you follow me on Instagram, my profile picture is done completely in palette knife, and it's with the notorious palette knife that I use in all my videos. I also have a lot of paint brushes, but this is the main paintbrush I use. It's a round brush, but this isn't the only one I have. I have multiple, but the reason why I use this one the most is because it's small and it can be kind of big. And I mostly work with really small paintings, but I also have like really large brushes. I have mostly filbert brushes. I have really big ones, and then I have little teeny ones. I have some round brushes. I have many different brushes, but this is the main one. Then I have tape. The notorious tape that I had to remember to peel off at the end of my videos because you guys want to see me peel off the tape. And you're right, it does look better. I mean, when you see the crappy mess all on the tape, it's like, ugh. And then I have like a little board canvas. It's like, what is it, 8 by 10, something like that, where I basically tape most of my little paintings on. And sometimes I use other old random canvases to take the bigger ones on. So I use 11 by 14 for the bigger pieces, and the 8 by 10 for the 9 by 6 pieces. I have in my pencil pouch something that's called a kneaded eraser. They call it a kneaded eraser because you can change the shape of it, you see. Then I have a pencil sharpener. No need to really show that, but yeah, a pencil sharpener. And this might seem kind of insignificant, but I use it so much. My India ink jar, this is the one that I use because I like it so much. I also have little tweezers, and I mostly just use that for when I'm placing salt on a watercolor painting. Scissors too, in case I need to cut something to the size, or if I just need to cut something in general. I also have sponges. That's mostly used for texture, and I almost only use it whenever I'm doing like outer space. So if I do like outer space hair, I would just do the little sponge to make it look like face clouds or something. Is that even a thing? I also have masking fluid. I don't use this as often as I used to because it's old now and it's kind of clunky on the inside. Plus it stains my paper yellow a little bit now, and it smells horrible. It smells like fish, to be honest. No, it smells like ammonia. But yeah, masking fluid comes in handy. I actually use it on a recent piece of mine, the hippie black girl. It's like tape, but you can paint it on. I also have an X-Acto knife. I don't use it very often, but if I ever have teeny tiny like parts I want to cut out and glue onto like a final work or something like that, then I'll use it. I use it in one of my really old paintings that half of y'all probably have never seen. I have my watercolor palette. This is my watercolor palette. I don't clean it often because I basically use the same paint over and over again. And why clean it? Or why waste paint? I have an ink palette for when I use India ink washes. I don't use this as often, but I do use it sometimes. And I have Mod Podge for gluing on things. And I have my cutting board. Is that what it's called? I don't know. The thing that cuts paper, you know, that thing. I'm gonna show it. You're gonna see it. What am I doing? And I have paper, but the paper I use the most is my Canson XL paper. Very cheap paper. Personally, I was never, maybe later on I'll get more into better quality paper, but this is the paper I use the most for my watercolors, and I bought it from Walmart for like $5 or $6. I actually talked about this in my cheap art supply challenge. If you ever saw that challenge, this was the paper I bought specifically for that challenge. So, and I use it now still. I also use Bristol board every once in a while, mostly for when I'm doing drawings, but since I don't have that much drawing material that's artist quality, I don't do that as often. And I have my infamous sketchbook. I have other ones, but this is the main one I use. Unlike most YouTube artists that I've noticed on here, I literally only use my sketchbook for sketches. So there's no color in here. This is just jotting down ideas. There's no color. Most of it is no colors. And yeah, and at the very back, I take down the cut transfers I've ever done on some pieces. So yeah, this is my main sketchbook that I even use for in college. So the beginning is graphic design work and the back is like actual artwork. And I have a bigger one, and then I have a little teeny one that I carry around in my purse now. I also have oil paint, but I'm not cracking out my oil paint because I don't use that very often on this channel. I just have it, so I'm gonna let you guys know. But if you look back at some of my older videos when I did portrait paintings or portrait commissions, you will see me using a lot of the oil paint there. But now I don't really use it at all. I haven't gotten any commissions lately, and I'm kind of happy a little bit because I'm trying to focus on my newfound style other than my portrait style. My portrait style is different from my style. I already got my portrait style exactly where I want it to be. Now I'm focusing on, you know, the style that you guys see. Then I have my acrylic paint. This is my acrylic paint, the paint that I use the most other than watercolor. But yeah, this is the paint I use the most, my acrylic paint. The main colors I usually use are Living Yellow, Primary Red, and Primary Blue. These are Soho acrylics. I like Soho acrylics because they're a decent quality without you breaking the bank. Really good quality would be something like Golden or like other like things like Winsor & Newton maybe. But Soho is good if you're starting out. It's fantastic. And I also have some random like shirt paints in here. I use these once in a while, but not very often. Also have some old, very, very old. It's a little too old because they're really clunky now. But some very old Basics paint. Basics is school grade paint along with Soho, but it's not too bad. But I think this one's a little more expensive. The actual brand is Liquitex, but I think it's a little more expensive than Soho. And I have this one Reeves acrylic, which is in silver, and it's beautiful. Here I have my watercolors. Woo! These are very old, okay? To be fair, because they're so old, my judgment on them might be a little bit skewed now because the way they dry is not very pretty at all. They'll dry with like a rim of concentrated color. So you can have like a really pale wash and it will like dry where it is like a freaking outline of like a more intensified color, if that makes any sense. But I don't know if it was always that bad. Actually, I don't think it was always that bad. I think it's gotten worse over time. But yeah, this is Marie's watercolor. Anyway, Marie's watercolor, pretty good. This is what you call student grade paint. It's not so bad that it's like something you buy for your little kids, but it's not professional. It's like, you know, it's fantastic for when you're starting out with watercolor. So if you first get familiar with watercolor and you don't want to break your bank because you don't know what the hell you're doing, get yourself some Marie's watercolor, and it's really good for that kind of thing, experimenting and starting out. I also have some Soho watercolors I bought because I was told that they were a little bit better quality. I don't know. I haven't used them alone enough to make that judgment. These are almost just as old as the Marie's watercolors, so yeah. Then I have my infamous India ink, Speedball India ink. Unfortunately, this is not vegan. It has bugs, crushed bugs in it. Everything else that I showed you guys so far, I think is vegan for the most part, but this is not. They use shellac, and many of you know that shellac is not a vegan, but I love it so much. It gives that nice rich blackness that I love seeing when I finish a painting. Perhaps one day I'll just buy like regular water, because even this isn't 100% water resistant, so I'll probably just buy like regular India ink without the water resistant qualities of it, and it should be fine because I'll mostly use it after I'm finished anyway. I also have some latex paint that came in big ass cans that I use for a mural in my house that I've done years ago that I don't want to show because I think I can do better now. But I keep them in these little plastic containers that I got from a container store. And I mostly just crack them out whenever I'm doing really large pieces and I'm doing an underpainting of acrylic. That's when I usually use them, or just like large pieces of acrylic paintings just for recreational purposes. Here I have my pencils. I have many different pencils, many different hardnesses, and I'll even show each hardness. F is the lightest one, then I have all the way up to 8B, which is the darkest. And the way that pencils work is that each letter and number represents how hard or how soft the pencil lead is. I believe that B, so like 2B stands for black, while H stands for, I know H stands for hard. If you have 4H, then 4H is going to be extremely light. While on the other hand, 8B is very soft and it'll be very dark once you draw on it. So I'll show each one of those that you're probably going to see right now. Then there's some charcoal. Somebody asked me about charcoal pencils, but I don't really use charcoal pencils very often at all in my speed arts. I might do it one day, but I have different charcoal pencils with different hardnesses, and they do look different. Even though charcoal is very dark, they do look different surprisingly. Also have a few markers, not a lot. I just have a Prismacolor gray, black, that's a gray that's running out, a black that's running out, and I bought it for my job, and that's why it's running out. And then I have a blender that I stole from my boyfriend. I have fine liner markers. I have a blue and I have a brown. I love them so much. I use them too damn much. The brown one I use like all the time. I swear I knew I was going to overkill it. I have microns that I love to death, and I have the really fine one, and I have a brush one. But honestly, the brush one is not that good. The liners themselves are very good. I have the biggest one I have is I think it's a 0.2, and the smallest is the 005. I also have my jelly rolls. I have silver, and I have gold, and I have white. That's it. I actually want to get all of them, but I don't have money to buy all of them. I have some pens too. See, I have a red pen, I have a purple pen. I'm probably talking all out of order when I'm showing this, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not looking at the video. I don't know what I show. And I have my markers. You see, these are my paint markers. This is my favorite one, the Deco Color Liquid Copper. Very good, very cheap. The one that sucks though are these other ones. They're cheap too, but they're not cheap in a good way. They're just cheap, okay? They're cheap in the way they cost, and they're cheap in the way they act. They're freaking terrible. They're not even a real marker. They have a plastic nib. What kind of marker has a plastic nib? You know I'm still mad about this damn marker. If you saw my art supplies haul, you would know it. But I use it because I paid for it, okay? Then I have some, now this is what you call kid quality color pencils. These color pencils aren't the best, but it's what I have, so I use it. I have multiple pen heads. What I did was I took old brushes, popped off the tops. These brushes are cheap packet brushes that freaking fell apart, and the tops were all ruined with either too much pressure or just too much paint. And I just popped them off and then taped this home with a whole bunch of tape on each one of these. So I have multiple ones. The one I use the most, of course, is the pointy one. These I don't use that often. I only used one time in one of the videos when I was doing letter design with the cat and the woman. That's the only. I never really use them for type design that often. I think I want to start doing a little more type design, using some quotes either from like the Dhammapada or just quotes in general. I'll start doing some type design and that, make it look cool. Maybe I'll make me a better graphic designer, even though I haven't done any graphic design work in years, unless y'all trying to hit me up and be like, hey Ayana, I need a flyer, you know. Okay, let me shut up. But guys, I think that's it, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'm so happy to finally get it done to you guys. I hope it was very thorough, and I hope I didn't forget anything. I think I've covered most of the stuff that I use, or the most common things that I use. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think down below. Tell me if you're interested in knowing any more. If you have any questions, just ask me. Feel free, because I'll help you out. And I'll see you guys next time. Oh yeah, also, thanks, Mommy Tay. Alright guys, peace.